Hello, boys and girls. Welcome, welcome. Do you know what time it is? Story time. And I am so glad you're here. And now it's getting to be fall. It is fall. Oh my goodness. Well, we're going to have some nice stories, but first we have to get Panda out. You know how Panda is. Come on, Panda. Come on, Panda. Oh, oh. Here is Panda. Oh, Panda. Nice of you to get up and wave at the boys and girls. We know that this wasn't the day the boys and girls could come and sit with us, but, you know, we're waiting so everybody can be safe because we don't want anybody to get sick, okay? All right, well, let's welcome everybody, okay? Gotcha. Welcome, welcome, everyone. Now you're here, we'll have some fun. First, we'll clap our hands just so. Then we'll stretch and touch our toes. Welcome, welcome, everyone. Now you're here, we'll have some fun. Yay! Oh, yes, the boys and girls are watching you. Yes, they are. All right, let's sing our song, okay? That we start with all the time. Boys and girls are used to it. Where is Thumpkin? Where is Thumpkin? Here I am, here I am. How are you today, Thumpkin? Very well, I thank you. Run away, run away. Are you using your fingers, boys and girls? Where is Pointer? Where is Pointer? Here I am, here I am. How are you today, Pointer? Very well, I thank you. Run away, run away. Where is Middle Finger? Where is Middle Finger? Here I am, here I am. How are you today, Middle Finger? Very well, I thank you. Run away, run away. Where is Ring Finger? Where is Ring Finger? Here I am, here I am. How are you today, Ring Finger? Very well, I thank you. Run away, run away. Where is Pinky? Where is Pinky? Here I am, here I am. How are you today, Pinky? Very well, I thank you. Run away, run away. Yay! Where are the boys? Where are the boys? Stand up, boys. Stand up, boys. How are you today, boys? Yay! I know you're wonderful. Where are the girls? Where are the girls? Stand up, girls. Stand up, girls. How are you today, girls? Ah, fabulous. We're glad you're here. We're glad you're here. Yay! So glad everybody's here. And Panda is going to move over here while I read you a story. And the first story I'm going to read is The Seasons of Arnold's Apple Tree. Now, a lot of us just think about apple trees in the fall when the apples are growing on the trees. But Arnold takes care of his apple tree and celebrates his apple tree all year long. So, The Seasons of Arnold's Apple Tree by Gail Gibbons. Arnold climbs up high into the branches of the apple tree. He can see far, far away in every direction. This is Arnold's very own secret place. This is Arnold's apple tree. Arnold's tree keeps him very busy all through the year. When it is spring, Arnold watches the small buds grow on his apple tree. Some of the buds develop into sweet-smelling apple blossoms. Carefully and quietly, Arnold watches the bees collecting nectar from the blossoms to make honey. And Arnold makes a swing for his apple tree. Well, is the swing for the apple tree or is it for Arnold? I think they're both enjoying it. He weaves an apple blossom wreath and hangs it from a branch. And Arnold picks an armful of apple blossoms and brings it to his family, and they make a flower arrangement together. Now it is summer, and Arnold's apple tree has big green leaves that rustle in the wind. Arnold builds a tree house. His apple tree shades him from the hot summer sun. Oh, and look, he's got some of the honey that came from the nectar of the apple blossoms, and he's reading a book. The green leaves shelter him during a summer shower. Arnold watches small apples begin to grow from where the blossoms used to be. They grow bigger, bigger, and bigger. Well, with some of the big green apples, Arnold does a juggling act for his tree friend. And now it is fall, and Arnold's apple tree now has big, red, tasty apples. The green leaves have turned golden and they drift to the ground. Arnold gathers some of the leaves and brings them up to his tree house to make a soft floor to lie on. Then Arnold shakes the branches and red apples fall to the ground. He puts them in a basket and takes them home. Arnold and his family make apple pies with apples from Arnold's apple tree, and they put the rest of their apples into a cider press and make fresh apple cider. On Halloween Day, Arnold decorates some of his biggest apples. Look at that. And they glow in the moonlight under his tree on Halloween night. And then it is winter. Snow falls. It's quiet. The branches of Arnold's apple tree are bare. Arnold hangs strings of popcorn and berries on them for the winter birds to eat. He builds a snow fort around the bottom of his tree. Arnold builds a snowman to keep him and his tree company during the winter. The snow melts away and it is spring again. So Arnold loves his apple tree all year long. Okay, we're going to go over and have a story on our magnet board. Well, it's a poem more than a story, but come on over with me. All right, let's count our apples. We got to pretend this is an apple tree. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 red apples smiled down at me. I shook that tree as hard as I could, and down came an apple. It looks good. 4 red apples. Way up high in an apple tree. 4 little apples smiled down at me. I shook that tree as hard as I could, and down came an apple. It looks good. way up high in an apple tree. Stretch up high. 3 little apples smiled down at me. I shook that tree as hard as I could. Down came an apple. It looks good. Way up high in an apple tree. 2 little apples smiled down at me. I shook that tree as hard as I could. 1 little apple fell down. It looks good. Now, 1 little apple, way up high in the apple tree. 1 little apple smiled down at me. I shook that tree as hard as I could. Down came an apple. It looks good. And I bet someone is gathering those apples up like Arnold did. And I wonder if they're going to make apple pie. Well, let's come back over. Okay, well, we saw Arnold gathering the apples from his apple tree into a basket, and then he and his family made apple pie. Well, this is the story of Amelia Bedelia's First Apple Pie by Herman Parrish. Amelia Bedelia was visiting her grandparents. It was a glorious autumn afternoon, the perfect day to rake leaves into piles and run around the yard. Fall is in the air, said Granddad. Granddad and Amelia Bedelia looked up. Well, so are the birds, said Amelia Bedelia. Look, they're making a V and a W. What are they trying to spell? Well, just then Amelia Bedelia's grandma came outside. Quick, said Granddad, look busy. But it was too late. Hey, lazy bones, said Grandma jokingly. If you're just going to stand around, I've got a job for you. Well, what do you need? Granddad asked. Apples, said Grandma. I made pie dough. If you'll get some apples, I can teach Amelia Bedelia how to bake an apple pie. Grandma's apple pie was Amelia Bedelia's favorite. Hooray, she yelled. Race you to the car. She started to run, but she tripped over a branch and landed right in the pile of leaves. Whoosh! Well, how was your trip? Asked Granddad as he helped her up. Fun, she said. Ball is in the air and on the ground, too. Granddad smiled and said, okay, watch your step. Well, Amelia Bedelia tried to watch her steps, but it made her dizzy to look down at her feet all the time. Amelia Bedelia and Granddad were already in the car when Grandma called out, be sure to pick up Granny Smith. Who is Granny Smith? Is she helping us make the pie? Amelia Bedelia asked. You bet, Granddad said. We couldn't do it without her. Well, Amelia Bedelia and Granddad drove out into the country. Your supermarket is far away, said Amelia Bedelia. We aren't going to the supermarket, said Granddad. We'll get our apples at the farmer's market. What? Asked Amelia Bedelia. Do we need to buy a farmer? No, said Granddad, laughing. The farmer grows the apples from his apple trees, and the apples are much fresher. Apples are good for me, right? Asked Amelia Bedelia. Oh, yes, said Granddad. An apple a day keeps the doctor away. They're good for your teeth, too. Folks call them nature's toothbrush. Well, hey, Granddad, said Amelia Bedelia, if I eat an apple every day, I won't have to go to the doctor or the dentist ever again. Granddad smiled. I wish it works that way, Pumpkin, he said. Granddad picked up a bright green apple, polished it, you've seen people do that, polish it on his jacket, and tossed it to Amelia Bedelia. Nice catch, he said. Meet Granny Smith. Amelia Bedelia took a loud, crunchy bite. Granny is yummy, she said. Well, bushel baskets overflowed with red, orange, yellow, pink, and green apples. Some apples wore stripes, or spots, or splotches. The colors reminded Amelia Bedelia of autumn. While Granddad chose apples to buy, Amelia Bedelia read the names out loud. One was called Delicious, but they all looked tasty to her. Well, here's one called Winter Banana, Green Sleeves, Black Twig, Blaze, Duchess, Royal Gala, Golden Nugget, Northern Lights, Pink Pearl, there's Granny Smith apple, and Delicious. Who knew there were so many different kinds of apples with all those different kinds of names? Well, when they got home, Grandma went right to work, coring and peeling the apples. Amelia Bedelia measured the peels to see which one was the longest. Grandma cut each apple into 2 pieces, then into 4 pieces, and then into 8 pieces. And finally, she sprinkled sugar and cinnamon on the slices. Next, Grandma pulled out all of her pie pans, hunting for just the right one. Amelia Bedelia found a tiny pan. Is this a toy? She asked. No, said Grandma. This is a real pie pan. It's just really small. And here's the one I want. Now, please get me a little flour, Sugar Plum. Well, Amelia Bedelia spied a small flower on the windowsill, and she picked it. Here you go, Grandma, she said. I think Grandma was thinking of a different kind of flower. But she still said, thanks, Grandma. Oh, no, I'm sorry. She said, thanks, sweetie, when Amelia Bedelia gave it to her. Then she showed Amelia Bedelia where she kept the flour she used for baking. Grandma rolled out the dough. It got flatter and thinner. It got rounder and bigger. Grandma said, careful, watch your fingers, because she didn't want to roll over Amelia Bedelia's fingers. But Amelia Bedelia took her hands off the table. She watched her fingers very carefully. They looked pretty boring. She wondered why she had to do this to make an apple pie. Well, now we need a sprinkle of flour, said Grandma. So Amelia Bedelia reached into the sack of flour, grabbed a handful, and sprinkled it over their heads. Well, Grandma laughed. Not on us, she said, on the dough. Oh, well, Amelia Bedelia sprinkled some on the dough, too. At last, said Grandma, we're ready to put this pie together. Well, that's exactly what Grandma and Amelia Bedelia did. Then, see, they're pouring all the apples into the pie crust. Grandma popped the pie into the oven, set the timer, and started to clean up the kitchen. That's when Amelia Bedelia had an idea. She took the leftover dough and rolled out 2 small circles. She put one in the little pie pan, filled it with the extra apples, and plopped the other circle on top. Then she crimped the edge all around. A smidgen of dough was left, so she made a little flower, a tiny daisy, to decorate the top. Well, your mom and dad will be here soon, said Grandma. Then we'll have a pie party. Yippee, said Amelia Bedelia. Granddad heard the commotion and came into the kitchen. What are we celebrating, he said. Honey, said Grandma, Amelia Bedelia made her first apple pie. After Grandma took her pie out of the oven, Amelia Bedelia carefully and secretly slid hers in. Well, I'm going to set this outside to cool, said Grandma. It was time to get ready for the party. Grandma hummed as she set the table. Granddad was whistling the same tune. Outside, the birds were chirping and tweeting and singing like mad. Listen, said Amelia Bedelia. It sounds like the birds are having a party too. My pie, exclaimed Grandma. They all ran outside. The pie was covered with birds. Scram, hollered Grandma. Shoo, shoo. Amelia Bedelia took off her shoe and handed it to Grandma, but it was too late. Well, Grandma didn't want a shoe. She was saying shoo to make the birds go away. Our pie, said Amelia Bedelia. Gone, said Grandma. And then Amelia Bedelia's parents arrived. Amelia Bedelia's dad stared at the empty pie pan. Gee, he said, couldn't you wait for us? The birds ate our pie, said Amelia Bedelia. What birds? Asked her mom. I think they were swallows, said Granddad. They sure were, said Amelia Bedelia. They swallowed the whole thing. Well, sweetheart, said Amelia Bedelia's mother, let's imagine how good it would have tasted while we eat our ice cream. The whole family tried to enjoy the ice cream and not think about the pie, but that was impossible. We made the best pie, said Amelia Bedelia. It was a thing of beauty, said Grandma. Would have been delicious, said Granddad. It was a perfect pie, said Amelia Bedelia. Her lower lip trembled. She let out a sob. You know, said Amelia Bedelia's father, just hearing you talk about that pie makes me think I can smell a fresh-baked apple pie coming out of the oven. My pie, exclaimed Amelia. They ran to the kitchen. Grandma took the tiny pie out of the oven and set it on the table. There it was, bubbling hot and baked to perfection. They all gathered around and gazed at it as though it were a brand new baby. It's absolutely perfect, said Amelia Bedelia's mother. Just like Grandma's, said Granddad. Only smaller, said Amelia Bedelia. And you made it all by yourself, said Grandma. This time, said Amelia Bedelia's father. Let's let the pie cool down in the house. But no one could wait. Grandma cut tiny pieces for everyone. She took one bite and declared, "This is the best apple pie I have ever tasted." Amelia Bedelia's smile was so big that it was hard for her to eat. "Thank you, Grandma," she said, "and thank you, Granny." "Granny who?" asked Amelia Bedelia's mother. "Granny Smith," said Amelia Bedelia. "She made all of our apples in the first place." Okay, well, happy apples and happy apple pie to you. See you next week, boys and girls. Bye.